It's SJG D2 HBCU football.
Sleep on Livingstone if you want to, and they can really punish you for it.
Fayetteville State, they're never sexy, but they won.
Sometimes we have to eat our crow, and I got to eat my crow this week, okay?
Doom alert. Yeah, we're back at Heartbreak Hotel, and we're checking back in.
What's up, good people? SJG here, right along with my guy K-Ferg, and this is the HBCU Game Day D2 football show. And man, do we have a special show for you guys today. We got a special guest. I'm going to bring him on in just a couple of seconds. But first off, holler at Chris. Chris, how you feeling today, man? I know I see you're on the move.
Yeah, I'm starting to get in the swing of getting back on the road.
On the road again?
That means I get more games. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm here. Life is good. I'm looking forward to this show.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it's definitely it's great time of year. We are in the middle of the week. We are in the middle of the football season, actually heading towards the back end for D2 for the regular season. So it's a great time. And again, before we have a very special guest for you, someone who is really making waves in the HBCU community, in his local community, and really bringing his university out to the world in a way that they have not been in quite some time. But before we do that, a somber note, but we would like to take the time to think about our family over at Virginia State University, Mrs. Peggy Davis, who was the Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics over at VSU. Got the news this morning that she passed away. Our thoughts and prayers go out to VSU, just one of a CIAA school where there's a lot of history there. And, Mrs. Davis, you can go read her bio on the story at hbcugameday.com. But, she's been there for nearly 30 years. Really one of those people that's on campus that is an institution, a part of the institution and what makes it great. Also would be amiss if I did not acknowledge Stinson Conley, who passed away from Winston-Salem State University. He's a former basketball player. I believe he won a CIAA title with Clarence Big House Gaines back in the 70s. And he spent the last 30 years working at Winston-Salem State in a capacity of ways, including as a professor in sports management, as well as a basketball coach and a track coach as well. So we'll have a moment of silence for those folks. And yeah. All right. Just wanted to take time to do that. Now we get to the good stuff. Before we have you guys waiting any longer, first off, hit that like button. You're listening. You know you like it. You know you love it, and we love for you to be here. Love it, lovers, haters, all of that good stuff. We appreciate it. But I want to bring on a man who has been, this term gets used a lot, but I would say nothing short of transformational for his institution over a number of years, but primarily these last just over 2 years since he's become president. He has Dr. Anthony J. Davis has really taken the helm over at Livingstone College, the birthplace of Black college football, and really just made waves from day one, being involved in the community. And unless you've been under an HBCU rock, you would know that this year they have consistently just had, a great relationship with an anonymous donor who chooses to remain anonymous, who continues to help them to build up on some things that they've been wanting to do for a long time. So without any further ado, let me stop rambling. Let me bring the man on you want to see, Dr. Anthony J. Davis, the 13th president of Livingstone College.
Hey, good evening. Glad to be here tonight.
Good. We appreciate you for joining us.
Well, when you guys sent out the invite, I was doing the happy dance. My hands are crossed. I'm doing all those things. Looking forward to another win this weekend. I'm sorry.
So we're just gonna start off like this, huh? We're just gonna start off like this, as you should be. So we're gonna talk about a number of things, but first off, we will acknowledge Livingstone College is 5-2. The last time that they were 5-2, I believe I went back. It was 2014. 2014. So it's been a decade. And you guys are in the thick of the hunt for the CIAA championship, coming off a big win over Fayetteville State. You guys are feeling pretty good over there in Salisbury right now, I imagine.
Yeah, we're feeling pretty good, but we're not overconfident. That's why you play the game every Saturday between those white lines, because, again, everybody can fight till the fight starts. You got to play the game. I think they picked Livingstone to finish 9th in the CIAA. I think that we're showing the entire CIAA family that was a miscalculation, and I'm glad about it.
Yeah, well, think about those predictions, man. They'll either make you look like a genius, but most of the time they make you look like Boo Boo the Fool. And you guys are defying the odds. Chris, I'll let you chime in, and then we'll talk a little bit.
I can't really peg where Livingstone can be from week to week. It's just so scary. But I think that's a testament. I know the coaching staff has been very high on their hopes for this season, and that's really panning out very well. My question is more about Livingstone and where they're headed as a university, and I'm kind of curious as to some of the initiatives that you're trying to implement as you look to move Livingstone forward.
Okay, so when you think about Livingstone College, we are embarking upon something that we're calling the Miracle on Monroe Street. The Miracle on Monroe Street is broadly more than brick and mortar. The Miracle on Monroe Street, yes, we're rehabilitating, $50 million of campus construction is going on right now on the campus of Livingstone College, where we're refurbishing 5 residence halls. I mean, what we've done is gone through and we're totally gutting them out to a shell. So our students will have 5 new residence halls. In addition to 5 new residence halls, we're building out a brand new cafeteria, taking care of our infrastructure, particularly as it relates to where students eat and sleep. But when you think about HBCUs in North Carolina, Livingstone College, we're one of the fastest growing. I believe that it was North Carolina Central was celebrated this year for having the largest growth in the North Carolina system with 8% growth. But Livingstone College, we had 11% growth this year as it relates to our enrollment. When we talk about who is coming to Livingstone College now, this year we had the top academic class in our history. Not only did we bring in 441 freshmen and new students, the average GPA of this class was 3.26. So we are a different institution going after those academically talented and gifted students, and many of them are student athletes as well. So this is the new Livingstone. We have right now, for the last 2 years that I've been president, a 78% retention rate and a 76% persistence rate. That is why we ran out of housing for men this year. We're one of the few HBCUs that can celebrate the fact that we have more men on our campus than women, and we ran out of housing for men this year. So that's the new Livingstone. That's our story.
Wow. I'm sorry, Chris, were you going to follow up with that? Did you have? Okay. Yeah, no, that's, I mean, those are great statistics, and shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Who's one of our longtime guys there, Blue Jacket. I think that's great. I think it's a very interesting point that you bring up about the number of Black men that are in your institution. Obviously, higher education in general is skewed towards women, but especially in the African American community and in HBCUs. Obviously, it's important to educate all of our young people, but how for you as a Black man, how good does it feel that you guys are, being able to draw in Black men and being able to influence the next generation?
It's refreshing because despite the narrative that you see and hear, all young Black males are not on the 6 and 11 o'clock, the 6, 10, and 11 o'clock news committing crimes, that I can walk across my campus and I can see young men who are in college handling their business. Many of them are academic scholars. I mean, in this incoming class that I had 180 young men and women who came into Livingstone College with a GPA of 3.0 to 4.0. Many of them were men, young men who were looking for an opportunity. We had some young men who had the opportunity to come to Livingstone College with an athletic or an academic scholarship, they chose to focus on their academics. And so it's refreshing, and I'm excited about what's happening on our campus.
Yeah, that's great points there. And I would also say too, when we talk about this, I know when you were kind of a couple weeks into the job when we first had a conversation a couple years ago, and I asked you, what role did you see athletics playing in your institution? Now 2 years later, how has it fulfilled what you thought it would be, or maybe even exceeded it based off of some of the successes you had? I mean, we hear about football, but you guys also traditionally very good in golf and a couple other sports as well. So how does athletics, for you as the head of an institution, how does that play in for you?
Wow, that's a great question. When I interviewed for the job, one of the things that they talked to me about, I told them that I would have a 5-pillar strategy. I took a look at the challenges that a small private HBCU like Livingstone College, but specifically Livingstone College was facing: low enrollment, crumbling infrastructure, lack of adequate resources. And I said that I would deploy a 5-pillar strategy to not only protect us, but propel us into the future. So the statistics that you heard me articulate earlier was really just our report card on how we've leveraged that 5-pillar strategy and how it's working. Athletics is critical to that because that helps fund our economic model. Not because we have all these revenue generating sports and the sports are generating revenue, but it helps us with the other big E word called enrollment. We're able to enroll academically talented and gifted students who happen to also be student athletes. And we're able to get in there. 350 of my 900 students, more than a third of my students, are student athletes. And so athletics is critical to the economic engine of Livingstone College. And so when you think about our programs, for me, it's not winning all the time, but putting a competitive product on the field or on the court. No one talks about, well, they do talk about it, but they fail to mention sometimes our golf team who is always in the thick of the regional hunt. And this year, when we look at football, we surprised a lot of people because you have to play that game on Saturday, and we're making some people in the CIAA take notice.
No doubt. Chris, do you want to follow up?
Well, I was just kind of wondering, as Livingstone is looking, is growing and things like that. One of the things that we've seen from other schools in the CIAA is graduate programs. And I was kind of wondering, how does that fit into the Livingstone vision that you have?
Well, we do have a graduate program. We launched our first graduate program, under my tenure. We launched the MBA program. We graduated the first class last year, and we're looking to continue to expand that. We're looking at other degree programs to add on the grad side of our offerings, but we're being very, very strategic because for us, we have to make sure that when we add programs that they're, how should I say this? When we add programs, we have to make sure that it's not a revenue drain on the institution, but instead a revenue generator. So we have to really think about that. One of the last things that I want to do is move into an accrediting cycle, right? Because we just had 10 years of accreditation. We're going into our 5th year cycle. I don't want to take us into a 5th year cycle with the engine light flashing. So it's very, very strategic on what programs we need to bring on, because when you bring on programs, you have to think about the number of faculty that you need, and these programs have to support and sustain themselves. So we're taking a deep dive into what comes next in the future of Livingstone College, particularly as it relates to grad schools.
Okay, great stuff there. Chris is the scholar here. He's working on that PhD. He'll be joining you as a doctor at some point soon.
Great.
So I'm the flunky of the group here. Just thank you, Laudy. No, but we again, Livingstone College football 5-2. And the fifth win that you guys got yesterday or last week was a big one. You guys took down Fayetteville State, who, for the past couple of years, they've been going to the championship game. They got one championship. As I said in the intro, they're never sexy, but they win. Last week, there was no win. Livingstone College beat them. I think that was the first time in nearly a decade, and only the second time this century.
Nice.
How did it? I know. How did it feel for you taking on? How do you feel taking on these state institutions who, they've got a little influx of cash from the state recently too? How did it feel for you? Talk about that.
Man. Well, for me, I always spoke my chest out when we beat one of the state schools, because a lot of people don't understand. It's like David going against Goliath, right? Because when we think about sports betting, and I've been pushing this narrative on Jones Street in Raleigh, that they need to include the private HBCUs in the sports betting bill as well. All of the public HBCUs receive $1 million every year from the sports betting bill, restricted to athletics. So when you think about a Livingstone going against an Elizabeth City, going against a Winston-Salem State, going against a Fayetteville State, we're going into that battle like David going against Goliath. We're going in with minimal resources when someone can give you a blank check, taxpayers' money, right, from the sports betting bill. It said, hey, restricted to athletics. That's going to help you with your facilities. That's going to help you with equipment. That's going to help you with scholarships, other resources. And so we actually start that fight behind, because they're not giving the private HBCUs $1 million. We have to get out and grind for it, or find creative ways to put a competitive product on the field or on the court. The fact that we're 5-2 and beat some of our state programs that had that $1 million blank check, I'm doing the happy dance on Monroe Street.
I'm not gonna lie. I heard you had a good joke. About it. If you want to repeat it, I'm gonna let you repeat it. But I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh man, you don't want me to say it on national radio, right?
I got you.
Everybody knows I'm an ultimate trash talker, right? I talk trash, because when I lose, they talk trash to me. So when I win, one of the things I said, man, with a blank check for $1 million and you still can't beat us, man. That's all I said. That was all I said. That's all I said. Man.
I got you. Yeah. Speaking of trash talk, I have to ask. The CIAA, I know the presidents and the CIAA, obviously the oldest league for HBCUs, and I happen to know some of the presidents, and I know that a lot of them are pretty big on sports. Who you said, and they talk junk to you. Who's giving it to you the worst when they've beaten you?
Ooh. You know what? Everyone's been cordial. I can't say nobody's giving.
That's a good answer. Because I think I know the real answer, but that's a good answer.
Everyone has been cordial. Everyone has been polite, and I've been polite as well. I have not rubbed it in. I've not called Chancellor Allison. I've not called my sister at Elizabeth City, because at the end of the day, we're all in this thing together. We may joke, but guess what? We're HBCU strong. Because when one of us hurt, we all hurt, and when one of us succeed, we really all need to celebrate that. I just believe that, because we do so much for the entire country, and I say this all the time on my campus, they need to put some respect on our name, because if it were not for HBCUs, when we talk about this Make America Great Again culture that we're in, America would not be great if it were not for HBCUs. So we must never let anybody forget that. If America is great, it's great because of the contribution of HBCUs. We represent 3% of all colleges and universities in this country. But think about STEM alone. We produce 24 of the graduates in STEM who are African Americans. We couldn't go to Mars, and we couldn't be competitive in this global marketplace if it were not for HBCUs. So I want to make sure I shout out all of the HBCUs who bring their highest and best every day.
And Chris, do you have another one? Or?
Well, I'm just interested about the blue field and how you feel about that blue field, because I love it. I think it's beautiful.
It's good. It's good for us. It's good for us when we bring recruits in and they have an opportunity to see this is where you'll play. And that helps us to really showcase some of what our campus has to offer. They like that blue field. We had to get a special permit to put that blue field on our field on our campus because there was another college that was not an HBCU, but they had a different color blue, but we had to get permission, even though our blue is a little lighter. We still had to get permission. But guess what? The blue field is there, and it's one of the nicest stadiums in the entire CIAA, particularly for a private HBCU.
Yeah, you guys actually trailblazers in that first HBCU to get it. And now we see Clark Atlanta has a red field and Albany State has a blue turf field. So, yeah, so, again, I appreciate you. Again, we have Dr. Anthony Davis, the president of Livingstone College. We're gonna so my producer doesn't whack me over the head when he sees me. We're gonna let you go and just respect your time. But I would be amiss if we didn't say you talked about beating state institutions. There are 3 of them in the CIAA. You've beaten Elizabeth City State. You've beaten Fayetteville State, and there's only one left. One you know very well. You guys have Winston-Salem State. I'll be. You got 2 Rams on here. We like to take over stadiums. So So are you ready for a red invasion on the blue field? Is what I'm going to ask you.
I'm ready, and they said there's always a ram in the bush, so we're gonna keep you in the bush.
Well,
I had that coming. I told you I'm the ultimate trash talker.
Well, before you became president, the last time they had beaten Winston-Salem State, we were in middle school. I mean, Chris and I were in elementary school.
Right.
But you have not. You're 2-0 right now.
Since I've been president, we beat Winston every time. Just saying.
On the football field, yes.
On the football field. That's right. On
the football field.
In basketball. It's just one of those things. It's one of the best rivalries in the CIAA. That's why the sports betting bill is so problematic, because the best rivalry in the CIAA is Winston-Salem Livingstone, right? Even in football, it's becoming one of the best rivals, and yet the private school can't benefit from it. But guess what? We're going to get out and give our highest and best in play and give the fans something to cheer for, and we'll see at the end of the game who's raising up that victory symbol.
Yeah, so you just admitted that we're a bigger rival than Johnson C. Smith. Just so you know, you're on the record with that now.
Well, the rival with Johnson C. Smith is more symbolic, right? Because it's the birth of Black college football. Black college football would not be where it is today if it were not for that first game played on our lawn in 1892. And it gave birth to so much more. Everyone wants to know who won that game, but really it's the universe won. Why? Because it really showcased what self-reliance and determination was all about. Because the 2 schools didn't have money, so they pooled their resources, worked together to buy the football. No uniforms. The industrial arts classes from both schools made the uniform, and the men just drove iron nails in their shoes so they could have cleats to play the game. So just think about that self-reliance and determination. That's what that game that we will play this year is all about. And hey, I want them to keep winning, and I want Livingstone to keep winning, but they have a collision course. They're on a collision course with those Bears, and they've got to come to Salisbury.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
All right. There we go. Well, Dr. Davis, we appreciate you for giving us your time. I know you last week was a whirlwind with Stonecoming 2024. So, look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be doing. I'll say good luck this week. Good luck.
All right. I'll say good luck, and I'll make sure that you have your press pass so I can shake your hand when it's all over.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
All right, Dr. Davis, appreciate you for hopping on. We went a little bit over on time there, but we could talk to him all day. Just a lot of good stuff there, Chris. I thought you as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's awesome to have not just football coaches, but other people who are part of the decision-making process
Right.
when it comes to athletics in general, because I think it just brings a different dynamic to the conversation, and it's also, educational, and to the viewers out there. So I really appreciate his willingness to come on the show and talk about a number of different things.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I didn't even get the chance to talk because I think it's a great. I think they're a great example of what branding can do for a school. You talk about the blue field. I also happen to notice they got some blue. They got a little splash on their helmets now. You know what I mean? They look different from everybody else, and I think in college football world that it can be hard to do and do that effectively. I think it's working for them. So, yeah. So anyway, again, everybody, thanks for hopping on. That was Dr. Davis, the president at Livingstone College. Please make sure you hit us with a like. We're over 200 across platforms, so we appreciate you guys for rocking with us. Chris, again, last week we talked about the breaking of the contenders from the pretenders, and there was a lot that went on. So let's kind of dive into it, some of the highlights, some of the games of note. We've kind of made it a tradition to start off with Clark Atlanta, right? Clark Atlanta last week, another thriller. They were able to pull off the win over Central State. They went on the road. They corrected the things that they needed to correct. I know a lot of people weren't able to actually see the ending of the game, but they did win the score. Final score of the final score for that game was 25-20 in Wilberforce, and they're back on the winning track.
Yeah, but they still needed some late game heroics to get it done. I mean, it's Clark. They can't really put people away. They're playing from behind. They got behind in this game as well, and it took a last second pass to get this done. So, I mean, they just continue to live on the edge. I mean, I guess they just have a thing for adrenaline rushes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no doubt. High scoring game, Fort Valley State and Allen, 49-40. We had in a really key game, Miles with a 32-21 victory over Albany State. Miles is now, starting to look like that team that a lot of people thought could be ending up in the championship game. They scored 32 points, which may be a season high for them, I'm thinking. They haven't necessarily been able to put a lot of points on the board, but it seems like maybe their offense is clicking, or maybe just Albany State's defense is that bad.
Well, it's some of this is also the third phase of the game too. I mean, they're just having issues. They just had issues all the way around at Albany. And the one thing about Miles is kind of what happened when we talked about Clark and Savannah State. Like Albany got behind 26-7 in the third quarter. And when you got a defense that you can kind of pin back on with Miles, that game was over at that point. Even though they still managed to get to 21 points, I mean, you weren't coming back from that at that point. So I think that makes this week really interesting, kind of knowing that here you got another good defense going up against another good offense, but that offense has a tendency to they kind of fall behind early. So maybe it's a little bit of foreshadowing, but certainly going to be worth a watch.
Yeah, no doubt. Kobe, if you can pop up the SIAC standings over there, and there's an overlay. So right now we got Miles sitting up at 4-0, unblemished, and then we've got not one, not two, not three, but four teams right now sitting with one loss each. Clark, Atlanta, Fort Valley State, Albany State, and Tuskegee. So that's where we are, and then you got couple teams down there with two. They're kind of still technically not out of the hunt, but at certain points people are going to beat each other. But that's what we have right there. And then we'll go over to CIAA. We'll talk about some of the game. This is the standings that we have right now after last week. Johnson C. Smith was idle. We are hearing that they did beat the bye week, so they are still undefeated. Virginia Union, they remain technically undefeated as well. with a smashing of Elizabeth City State, even though they struggled in that game a little bit. Livingstone and Winston-Salem State, we'll talk about those games in a little bit. VSU still in there, hanging in there with technically one loss in the CIAA, so they're not out of the race yet. Yeah, and then we kind of have the rest. We'll talk about last week's games a little bit, Chris.
The rest.
Well, hey, you got to bring up the rear some way, and these folks are in the back, including Fayetteville. And right now, the rear includes Fayetteville State and Bowie State. Chris.
Well, the Bowie State thing was a little bit, we kind of knew that was coming. So hey.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wrote a story a couple weeks ago on HBCU Game Day about the the HBCU dynasties, and obviously Bowie State winning 3 championships in a row, getting to a couple other championship games was one of those. But again, it's kind of formulaic at this point that you kind of get that drop off. Fayetteville State never got to that level, but they always seem to hang around. And the dearly departed CIAA South. But the South is no more, and maybe Fayetteville State's magic gone with it. So, yeah. It's tough.
Let me just say something about Fayetteville State, because I think they've gotten a bit stale. They had gotten some really good players come in, and they were able to conjure things year after year and play the odds against the rest of the CIAA South. But the way that the South has sort of responded to that was similar to what happened with Winston-Salem State. When Winston-Salem State came back to Division II and they went to their next levels, and then teams aspired to beat them. Then you have Virginia State sort of come in and take that lead. And, other teams were winning playoff games that really had not happened before Winston State. You're kind of seeing that with Fayetteville State right now, because while they have some they do some things really well right now, like this team does, but that instinct, that killer instinct that they sort of had isn't quite there. That sort of take over the game moments isn't there. And it's kind of left them sort of reeling a bit, I would say. You kind of got a little bit of that magic against none other than Bowie State when they kicked the game-winning field goal. And that's what we were used to seeing with Fayetteville. But by and large,
that was kind of like two titans falling down the side of the road, right? I mean,
well, yeah, there's that, but it's just that spark is just sort of missing, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Coach Hayes and company responds when they get to the off season now.
Yeah, no, it's not. This is not the late 2010s and early 2020s in Cumberland County or in Prince George's County. And we'll speak of that. We'll talk about the Livingstone game. Chris, you were able to watch this game. I was not. I tried to watch the replay, but that was tough. Just talk to me about this game. We had everything, man. We had pick six, we had safeties, we had 4th and 56s. When you look at that game, what stands out to you, or what will you remember about that game?
Well, Livingstone had a game way back when, several years ago. I think it was Livingstone, Elizabeth City, and one of those schools committed like 9 turnovers in that game. And this game was a bit reminiscent of that, where Fayetteville State was the one committing the infractions. They committed 6 turnovers in this game, and Fayetteville's just not really built to withstand, that. There was that game that Fayetteville State and Winston had, where Winston had 5 turnovers, and they had a chance to still sort of win the game because it's really low scoring. But Livingstone sort of built in a way that if you allow them to do that, they can grind the game out and they have the kicker to do it. They have the running back to do it. And they got the receivers as well. If the quarterback has enough time to make good decisions, they got the receivers to do it as well. We don't talk enough about defense, and Davion Watkins, or the lineman, he's probably one of the tops in linemen in the conference. And so they've got these pieces that they sort of put together, and it's built in a way that they're going to be competitive. And we kind of saw that where with Fayetteville State they just couldn't piece it all together, and it caught up to them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, yeah, no, it's definitely, and we'll talk a little bit more about the game for this week. We do have those. I went to Winston-Salem State, Shaw, and we were saying last week how this was obviously every game right now is a must win for WSSU. And well, and for both teams came in identical records. Both teams still had an equal shot at the CIAA championship. And then the game started. If Kobe, if you'll go ahead and run the WSSU highlights, the offense was in sync from beginning to end, and this is kind of how it played out.
Union. Instead, Dalen Lee's looking to pass, finds a player open in the end zone, caught.
Christian McDonald.
Touchdown Rams. It's a Flow Automotive touch.
Shaw brings A-gap pressure.
Dayton looking, the pass is complete for a first down inside the play clock. The pass complete far sideline and down close to the end zone. Is he in?
Should be a touchdown. And
yes,
it is. Thank
finally
you.
the call.
And that's James Grimes, I think, that caught that pass.
Dayton looking. Finds some room. He's going to be in the end zone. Yes, for the Flow Automotive touchdown.
That was a gutty play by Dalen Lee. He broke contained. He didn't like what he saw.
Yeah, so that's kind of it. 34-14 was the score. WSSU offense was clicking on all cylinders, 500 plus yards of total offense, 34 points all by the offense, and no field goals, Chris. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, it was I don't know. That might have been the best. That might have been the best offensive game that they played in the Massey area. I know they've scored they've scored more maybe other times, but really great balance between the run and the pass. And it was clear that WSSU was a better team, and they won.
Yeah, 34 was the most, tied for the most that they scored this season. But the way that Winston sort of played in this game, they kind of did it, on the ground, and they did it through the air. And Dalen Lee, the ability for him to actually use his legs to make some plays, you kind of saw that at that last play. But talk about like Trayvon Hester, like the way that his game has emerged like over the course of the season, where he could be, the bell cow all of a sudden. I mean, he rushed for like 180 yards in this game. And Winston hadn't really had that feature back in some time. And to me, it feels like, yes, you have all these stable of running backs that you can use, but he sort of emerged as that guy that can really, can take it, and he's going to drag 5 players to get a first down. It kind of reminds me of Nick Cooper a little bit. Not as explosive, but the fact that he can just take that ball and just sort of truck you and run you over. And I kind of giggle at all the nicknames that the radio announcers kind of have for him. But that's kind of what you have. And when you have that, and you can, the third down conversion rate is like super high for Winston right now. I mean, that says a lot. And you don't get all antsy just because they get the third down. You're just wondering, what are they going to do? And even coaches know what they're going to do, and they still have not been able to stop it on third down. So
Yeah, I thought it was the perfect bounce back game for them, Chris. They started off with a 95-yard touchdown drive, and that's been one of their things early on in the season. They were really dependent on the defense to put them in good situations, and now not quite as much. They'll take it when they get it. There was an interception in that game, a great one by Justin Fleming, but it was already, the game had kind of already pretty much been decided. So I think it was great for them. I think, Dalen Lee has really kind of started to look like the Dalen Lee we thought we would see at the beginning of the season. And I think once he learns how and when to use his legs, that's a problem for the CIAA. Also, he was getting the ball out to his backs as well. So there's a lot to like about that WSSU offense heading into this week. And before we go any further and talk about next week, I do want to talk about something else that has become up as a subject, and that is instant replay. Last week, the week before, there's been some confusion as to whether or not the CIAA has replay. And so I went ahead and made some calls to the CIAA office. I found out that they do have replay, but I haven't got the particulars. One of the coaches, Coach Massey over at WSSU, had some remarks about officiating, which can get you in trouble. But and specifically about the instant replay. So Kobe, if you'll play that, and then we'll show, and then I'll come back and I'll preempt the next clip.
We were able to move the ball 20 to 20. We got in the red zone. We got a little static, but I think some of the officiating helped. And it's bad to say, but it's just reality. Some of the officiating helped suck a little bit of the life out of us. Now, I thought, being in this league, playing a long time ago, and then coaching for a long time in this league, I never really concerned myself with instant replay, but in some of those instances, we really needed instant replay. And to date, we've never had it this year. So it's something that if we're going to say we're going to have it, I think we need it. Again, I think we should have been able to at least question some of the calls, because you do have instant replay, but because it was not running, it was not there to question. So we had to deal with, I won't say human error, but human judgment. And I think some of those calls affected the play affected us as a team in terms of being able to move the ball in certain calls.
So that was Coach Massey after the VUU loss, which of course they lost 31-13. So going into those remarks, I was at the game on Saturday, and I kind of was keeping a close eye. And there were two instances that I saw where replay really, as an option, as a functioning option, because it is there, really needed to be there. So Kobe, if you'll run those clips.
Should be the last play of the game. The pass is incomplete, we think. No, it's called in the end zone for the touchdown.
Are you freaking kidding me?
That is a catch.
Are you kidding
Now
me?
the officials are huddling.
How in the
One
world did
signaled
he
a
catch?
touchdown. What are they talking about?
No, now it's incomplete. Ball was on the ground.
Incomplete pass.
Incomplete.
Really didn't have much of a choice on it. Peters being traced in the backfield now, gets all alone, looking downfield. The pass is up and is caught at the 6-yard line.
How in the world are they catching these rainbow passes?
Yeah. So what you saw there were two plays, and I'll just explain them. So two plays. I added in the video to show you the real time where it was. In that one where they called it a touchdown and then they reversed it, I was in the end zone, literally right beside the field judge, who actually raised up his arms and said it was a touchdown. I could see from my camera that it wasn't, and the side judge was able to come in, and they were able to confer and make the call. So Shaw didn't get the touchdown on that, didn't hurt WSSU there. But on that second pass, they actually did. It actually was ruled a catch, and there was no way to challenge it. And for WSSU, they were able to actually get an interception to keep that from going in. But those are two instances where we're talking about replay, and those things can change the trajectory of a game for both teams. Because I'm sure Coach Jones over at Shaw would have loved to have said, "Hey, we think our guy caught the ball." And so hopefully we'll get some more. We'll get some more insight. But let's see. Can we keep things streams up the entire game? Hey, well, there are some schools who do have those issues. But not every school has those issues. But yeah, there are some that has those. But yeah, Chris, we talked about it again. We'll talk about it last week. And if I go to a game, I'll go to the game this week. And if I see some more plays that are there too, but I think again in 2024, we can all agree that instant replay is there and it is necessary for the CIAA.
Yeah, let me just kind of briefly mention something. So one of the conferences that does have instant replay, the MIAA. Their commissioner, he does little things like he'll post stats and stuff like that. He posted on his feed the replay report through the first 7 weeks of play for their officials. They had 37 home games for their conference. They had 6 targeting calls that were reviewed. 4 of those were overturned. 30 calls, they have coach challenges. 6 calls confirmed, 13 overturned, and 11 calls that stand. So between the stands and confirms, I mean, you're still looking at, 17 to 13. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting, especially like the targeting piece, because, targeting, you get thrown out the game. But when it comes to overturning calls, it's almost 50-50. So that alone is enough to consider, like, yes, you need to figure out a way to get replay up and running here. They do use it, I believe, in the playoffs as well. So it's something that the CIAA has got to figure out. But again, some people are actually pointing out the fact that, like, we can't even get streams consistently going, right? I mean, that's a real issue. So that's got to be dealt with too, quite honestly.
Come on, Groucho. You don't want replay? What kind of savage are you, man? Like, it's replay. It's 2025. I'm kidding with the savage, but no, it's
I mean, the officiating though, like the officiating at times has just been less than stellar. So not only you got some human error there for one, and that's a concern. I kind of wonder if the CIAA actually participates in the playoffs. Maybe that's a question for the league office, if their officials will go to officiate other teams or the home team. I'm kind of curious on that too, because if they do, man, you're definitely going to hear about it in the playoffs. so yeah.
Yeah, so very interesting discussion is going off in the chat. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please go ahead and hit that like button. We appreciate everybody that's rocking with us. We are closing in on a record, so we definitely appreciate you guys. Guys, if you are on the YouTube, we definitely do take the everything. So we got CIAA replay be at 18 minutes long. But hey, if it's the difference between a win and a loss, you might, after that Fayetteville State touchdown that you guys got, I could see you not wanting to replay. I could see that. Nah, I'm just messing with you. All right, let's get to this week. Let's see. Well, I mean, does it have to be either or? Is my thing. I see people are saying officiating first. Does it have to be either or? Like, can we not walk and chew gum at the same time? Maybe I'm asking a bit much, but I don't know. Let's see. All right, so we'll get into this week. Let's start over in the SIAC. We'll pull out a couple games. Obviously, Clark Atlanta at Miles. This is a classic case of offense versus defense. But hey, as we saw last week, Miles actually can put some points on the board. Is capable of putting points on the board. Clark Atlanta only let Central State score 20, so maybe they're capable of playing defense. I don't know. Your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Doom for Clark. I'm not taking it for
we haven't been
Clark.
getting these often this year. Okay.
Yeah, Doom. I just don't see it, man. I think Miles is going to extend their lead on the rest of the conference, and we'll say, hey, look, Clark doing really good first year, come back stronger next year, but Doom.
Whew, yeah, well, we don't get a lot of those. Well, but hey, maybe it won't be our only doom of the day. All right, so and then we've got let's see, another interesting game. We got Savannah State and Edward Waters. Edward Waters has been the disappointment of the SIAC, some would say. Savannah State, they found some ways to pick up some wins. They beat Lincoln, California, for what it's worth. And then they beat Clark Atlanta. So and yeah, they have and they've also beat Tuskegee as well, I believe. So they are not to be trifled with. Do you think they can continue to try to make their bid and see if they can kind of be the spoiler here?
Savannah, yes, I
Yes.
think Savannah. I think Savannah absolutely could. Edward Waters, that they're still trying to figure out a few things as well. It's not going to be the season they had last year. They just had too many seniors, and so when you got a good defense, that's going to at least keep you in games. And Savannah's been finding some things to kind of sort of work out there. So I like Savannah in this one.
Okay, all right. Okay, good stuff there. Over in the SIC, as things are tightening up, Fort Valley State will go up and play South Carolina State in one of Chris's favorite types of games there. Hey, get that money, Coach Gibbs. Get that money. And then we'll also look at Allen and Benedict. Allen, 40 points, managed to score 40 points against Valley State, but the thing is, they gave up 49. Yeah, any thoughts on this game? Last year, this was the game everybody kind of looked forward to between these two programs, but obviously, a lot can change in less than a year in this situation.
I agree. I mean,
Okay, we got you doing that Jedi mind trick type of thing. All right, let's try again. Say that again.
no, I was just saying those are two teams that they're rebuilding right now, and Benedict definitely. I thought they were going to have a better season than they actually are right now. So that's been a bit much, and then Allen's at the bottom of the standings right now, and it seems like a lot of it's just related to defense. So it should be It's an interesting game. Games like those are really interesting to watch because
Yeah,
they're two evenly matched teams.
yeah, I would have. Maybe that just speaks to the talent that they had to rebuild. I would have thought Allen would be better under Keenan's Boulware as defensive coordinator, and they have just been getting lit ablaze in the SIC. As we travel over to the CIAA, Chris. Again, this is another week. Well, let's talk about the number one team, Johnson C. Smith. They seem to have found some fans on the internet, and it's beautiful. It's homecoming for Johnson C. Smith. And they're 6-0. They're playing the Shaw team that just got rammed over in Winston-Salem, and now they're coming to be they got eulogized over in on Beatty's Ford Road. Chris, is there a doom alert out for this? And the reason I'm gonna ask, because if you look at Virginia Union, the loss that they had, and Virginia State too, even though Virginia State's lost another one, their losses came after a bye week, and bye weeks are new here in the CIAA. So is there any type of a doom alert for them, or do you feel like Johnson C. Smith just kind of picks right back up where they left off?
Well, Shaw's got a big flaw in their passing defense, and the teams that can actually exploit it and do very well. And you saw that with Virginia Union. You saw that with Winston State. And guess what? Darius Ocean and company are coming to town, and I think the Bears about to get drowned. So no, I think that eulogy that they laid there, which is a annual thing that they do with Johnson C. Smith. I think it's gonna be very fitting because, man, all of a sudden it looks like you kind of wonder if Shaw can even get to 500 this season.
Yeah, I mean, off to a hot start, and yeah, kind of coming back down to earth. It's going to be interesting for sure. And let's go to our next game here. As we appreciate everybody for sticking with us and tuning in. We're going to look at. So we're gonna go with the battle of the real BSU, Chris. Bowie State. Let's talk about Bowie State. Last week,
Do we have to?
Yes, we're going to talk about Bowie State. We're going to talk about Bowie State. Let's talk about Bowie, baby. So, yeah, they had a tough loss to Fayetteville. They had a tough loss in Winston-Salem. They go up to Virginia, and they are a homecoming opponent, and they got treated as such on Saturday. Again, this is the rival. This is the homecoming rivalry game annually. This time it was Bowie State taking a thrashing. So hard, yes, it would be right. It would seem so right now. What are your thoughts about what happened with them at VSU last weekend? And is the game against the other BSU a cure for what ails them right now?
Well, Bowie State got behind.
Yo!
I just want to say, look, there's a chance Lincoln might beat Bowie State, right? I mean, there's a chance Elizabeth City might beat Bowie State. So it's very possible that this is to play to not stay at the bottom of the conference. But
my ram business on that one.
Right. No. I mean, I think it's a good opponent for Bowie State to try to get out of this slump. They sort of have these lulls on offense to the point that you're kind of wondering when they're going to get jump started, and they can't settle on a quarterback. We talked about that week after week. But it's homecoming, right? And I think homecoming sort of brings something out of you that can really get things going. Bluefield is struggling. I mean, I thought they had something kind of going, especially like a pass-heavy offense, but they really laid an egg on.
They turned back into Bluefield State.
Yeah. The way Lincoln just steamrolled them for their first win at homecoming, and now Bluefield's got to be homecoming opponent again. That sucks. That's there. Bluefield's the homecoming opponent for VUU. Are they? Or were they homecoming for?
No, they played at. I think they played at VUU last year. So.
Oh, maybe not there. Okay. Nonetheless, I mean, still, yeah. Yes, they are. They play VUU for homecoming. So, but I think it's Blue. It must be Bluefield's home. No, it's not Bluefield's homecoming. That was JCSU. Yeah, Bluefield is VU's homecoming this year.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So I mean, yeah, they're on the Lincoln track, and we know what happens when you don't have a good team and you go play VU for homecoming.
Oh,
we know what happens to that.
Ain't nothing nice.
I just feel like type in the chat how many points do you think VU is going to score against Bluefield? Because it's going to be ugly. So yeah. Nonetheless, anywho, I like Bowie to pick up a win in this game. I think Bluefield is just not going to have enough to keep up.
Yeah, man. Yeah. As we continue, as we continue, I'm not gonna lie, that BSU versus BSU battle for last place kind of sent me. I'm not gonna lie. It's been rough. It's been rough, but not losing to Bluefield State at homecoming rough. I don't think. Let's see. You already mentioned VUU. Well, okay, so VUU goes to Lincoln this week. Will they eclipse the 69-point mark this week?
No, I don't think so. It's certainly very, very possible, but you also have to just think about like the wear and tear of these games, and Jada Byers is going to get his. I don't think Lincoln's going to have they're definitely not going to have an easy time on offense. It's going to be probably in the 50s, I would say.
Temperature wise and score. And then VSU, revenge game for them. They get to go down to Elizabeth City for some payback. We shall see, though. We shall see. And then finally,
let me mention something about ECSU real quick, though.
Okay.
Because ECSU ended up losing 35-0 this weekend, right? But ECSU went into the red zone 4 times against Virginia Union and came out with nothing. It was bad.
Oof.
It was so bad. It should have been like 35-28 type game. That should have been the game that kind of scared VUU a little bit, and VUU was scared for like one quarter, if that. Like, when y'all gonna get started and start scoring some points, or maybe the fans, I should say. But yeah, I mean ECSU, no, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, Chris, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was this last game, man. I was gonna soundbite you, but I didn't get enough time because I did ask you last week if Fayetteville State should have been on Doom Alert, and if Livingstone was the favorite, and you were adamant that they were not. And I heard from some in Blue Bear Nation they were looking for you.
That one it's hiding.
Right. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, there's something going on over there. Happy homecoming, Clarence and Bowie State. And then we'll get to over in Salisbury, Winston-Salem State and Livingstone College. So as we talked about earlier, this is a game, a rivalry of close proximity, a rivalry of familiarity. It has not been a competitive rivalry when you look at the numbers. I crunched the numbers, and it's 47, 14, and 1 in favor of Winston-Salem State. But the last 2 years have gone to Livingstone College, as WSSU has sputtered, and as Livingstone has made a climb up with Sean Gilbert. 2 years ago, they got the first win since Biggie and Tupac were. Since that guy was Puff Daddy. 2 years ago, and then last year they followed it up with a win as well. But this was for not all the marbles, Chris, but a lot of the marbles. Both teams are 5-2. Both teams are 2-1 in. Both teams are 3-1 in CIAA play. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about this game? And just kind of let's talk about that a little bit.
I would talk. Yeah, it really is. I can't even be mad at it. Mad at it.
Yeah, y'all know the hotel. Y'all know the hotel. Wi-Fi be hating, and unless you gonna pay the $5, y'all can definitely hit us up with the what is that called? You can pay Chris's internet. But now go ahead, Chris.
Send help. I look at the strength of schedule for Livingstone, right? And I just want to go through this really quickly. They're 5-2, right? They lost to Charleston. who's undefeated in the Mountain East Conference.
I saw that one. Wasn't pretty, but yeah, they are undefeated.
VUL doesn't count. In my mind. Allen, bottom of the SIAC. Bowie State, we already just talked about, they're fighting to stay out of the basement. Lincoln, also trying to fight to stay out of the basement. Elizabeth City might be the basement. And then Fayetteville. That's their schedule. They have played one game against a team with a winning record.
And they got the split at.
So I'm a little concerned here because of the fact that, like, you know, Winston had this gauntlet. They sort of survived it. And yes, Livingstone's won these games, and that's great. But I'm a little concerned that this just might be a bit of a difference in abilities
Weight
and
classes.
styles. Yeah, there you go. That's a great way to put it. That's what I'm concerned about here.
Yeah, you know, I'll say this. I did go to the Livingstone-Charleston game, and it was not pretty. I looked at it and said, yeah, these guys are not ready to play. Now, I didn't know Charleston was as good as they are. I'll give them that. But you know, since then, yeah, I mean, they played the hand that they were dealt. You know, in the CIAA schedule for sure, the way that it has worked out and we'll see how it works out with no divisions going forward. The way that it's worked out is you have certain schools, certain years, and for some odd reason, you either have to play what I have termed previously as the Axis powers of the North, Virginia State, Virginia Union, and Bowie State, where at least two of the three are guaranteed to be good. In some years, all three are good. And so they had their time, and then it's like the other years you get Elizabeth City, you get Lincoln, and now Bluefield State. So, you know, it can be deceiving, Chris. But I will say this, you know, I know I'm uncomfortable. I'm not as uncomfortable.
So.
I'm not as uncomfortable as I could be. If not, last week made me more comfortable, right? If I'm a WSSU fan, you know. But it's still, you got to go there to Livingstone. You got to go there to that blue turf, you know. And it's certain places in HBCU, strange things happen. Strange things happen at Brayboy Gymnasium. Strange things happen at the Hole in Grambling. And strange things have been happening at Livingstone College, the Miracle on Monroe. And strange things have been happening since they got the blue turf. The first game that they played on between these two teams on their blue turf, I think Winston turned the ball over 6 times, and lost by 1 point. Last year they came to Bowman Gray Stadium, and they weren't better than WSSU, but they found a way to win. Their coaching staff, their coaching staff finds ways to get the most. For the most part, they find ways to get the most out of their program, the most out of their talent, and yeah, I think this is going to be this is the game for Winston, because you know that right around the corner is Johnson C. Smith, who who right now is sitting on top, and should they beat Shaw, they would still be on top when they come to Winston. So, but also you kind of wonder, all right, I think the guys now finally view Livingstone as something. I think before 2 years ago, you could just roll out the balls and beat Livingstone College if you're Winston-Salem State. I mean, there were some years that I was just like, oh my God, no, we're actually going to lose to Johnson C. Smith and Livingstone. And as bad as they were, they didn't lose to those teams. And then in the last 2 years, it's happened. And I think, these players have experienced that. And I think, I think they got a lot of confidence for last week. But strange things happen at Alumni Memorial Stadium. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. I mean, last year they beat Bowie State, who Bowie State last year was, 6-4 team still. And they found a way to lose there. They almost beat Virginia. They Virginia Union, the CIAA champions, have to work for it there too. I think WSSU has more talent. I do. I think if they're clicking on all cylinders, I think they should win this game. But I don't know. Strange things happen. Strange things happen over there, and we shall see. But yeah, what makes you asked, could I expound on something? What makes the conference so cyclical? I think in general, in recent years, over the last decade, the North, those three teams have fared better. I think there's a lot of things. I think, again, those schools play in states where there aren't as many Division II programs. And there aren't as many NCAA programs, period. And there's really a concentration of schools in North Carolina. And those three teams have actually had really good coaches. I will say that. And their programs over the past decade have really just been a bit above. But, this year you see, honestly, if you counted that first week of competition, the CIAA South, for the most part, is above the CIAA. The old CIAA South is above the CIAA North this year. But generally, one of those teams are going to be well. So that's kind of where you go. So what do you think the Rams should lean towards? Slow drag out or look for explosive plays to get over LC? Chris, what do you think about that?
Explosive. I think that when
you don't want this game to be close. You don't want this game to be close.
Right. You don't want this game to be close.
Yeah, it's especially not in Salisbury. You learned that the last 2 years. You don't want to be close. I think you go out there and you just cut off their blue bear heads, and you just take the fight out of them, where all they have left is to fight, and then it won't matter. So,
and then that becomes like a hiding.
So yeah, man, woo! All right, let's wrap it up. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is a record-breaking audience for us, so we appreciate you guys. Please, whatever platform you are on, please give us a like. Please leave a comment and share this too as we continue to build this out. As we get into next week, the championship picture will look a little bit clearer in both situations. We're going into the last year winning 3 of our last. Okay. Well, what did you tell us last week, Clarence, about the table? Y'all were gonna you said y'all were gonna do something with the table, Clarence. Somebody said crap out. I don't know. We'll see. All right. I will catch you guys later. Chris for Kobe. We will catch you guys later. Appreciate it. Peace. It's SJG D2 HBCU football.
Sleep on Livingstone if you want to, and they can really punish you for it.
Fayetteville State, they're never sexy, but they won.
Sometimes we have to eat our crow. And I got to eat my crow this week, okay?
Doom alert.
Yeah, we're back at Heartbreak Hotel, and we're checking back in.